बॉम्बे बैठे बंदे आ जाए बपोर क्या आगे नहीं कोई बॉम्बे में पीने के ऐसे कोई किसी को ब्रदर्स में था कोई बेस्ट लगा फोन लगा सीरियस सिम भी मतलब
Honorable Mr. Justice Jamshed Urjur Pardiwala, Judge Supreme Court of India, Mrs. Jasmine Pardiwala and family members of His Lordship, my esteemed colleagues on the bench, Shri Kamal Trivedi, Learned Advocate General, Shri Devang Vyas, Learned Additional Solicitor General, Srimati Manisha Lavkumar, Learned Government Pleader, Shri Mitesh Amin, Learned Public Prosecutor, Shri Kishore Trivedi, Chairman Bar Council of Gujarat, Shri Karan Singh Waghela, Vice Chairman Bar Council of Gujarat, Shri Asim Pandya, President, the office bearers and committee members of Gujarat High Court Advocates Association, learned senior advocates, learned members of the bar, learned Registrar General and other registrars of High Court, officers of the registry, friends from print and electronic media, ladies and gentlemen. We have assembled here today to bid an affectionate farewell to Honorable Mr. Justice J.B. Pardiwala, who adorned the bench of this High Court for a period of more than 11 years. My association with Honorable Justice Pardiwala is since my joining this High Court. During this period, he has created an excellent impression in my mind regarding his virtuous and illustrious career as a judge of this High Court. Honorable Mr. Justice Jamshed Urjur Pardiwala was born on 12th August 1965 in Mumbai in a family of lawyers rooted in Valsad of South Gujarat. He studied in St. Joseph Convent School and graduated from JP Arts College in Valsad in the year 1985. He obtained the degree in law from KM Mulji Law College, Valsad in 1988 and Sanad on 18th November 1988. His great-grandfather, Sri Navrojji Bikaji Pardiwala, started his legal practice in the year 1894 in Valsad. His son and grandfather of Justice Pardiwala, Sri Kawasji Navrojji Pardiwala, joined the bar at Valsad in 1929 and practiced up to 1958. His son and father of Justice Pardiwala, Sri Burjor Kawasji Pardiwala, joined the bar at Valsad in 1955. He later became an MLA and served as the Speaker of 7th Gujarat Legislative Assembly for the period from December 1989 to March 1990. Honorable Justice Pardiwala stepped into legal profession in January 1989 at Valsad as a fourth-generation lawyer. He shifted to Gujarat High Court, Ahmedabad in September 1990 and practiced in almost all the branches of law. During his tenure as committee member in the Bar Council of Gujarat from 1994 to 2000, Honorable Mr. Justice Pardiwala was appointed as nominated member of the Disciplinary Committee of the Bar Council of India. He also worked as an honorary co-editor of Gujarat Law Herald, a publication of the Bar Council of Gujarat. He also rendered services in Gujarat High Court Legal Service Authority. He was appointed as standing counsel for the High Court of Gujarat and District Court since 2002 and continued as such till his elevation. Honorable Justice Pardiwala was elevated as an additional judge, High Court of Gujarat on 17th February 2011 and confirmed as a permanent judge with effect from 28th January 2013. During his tenure as judge in the High Court of Gujarat, Honorable Justice Pardiwala presided over criminal, civil, taxation and commercial matters while taking suo motu cognizance several matters and delivered many judgments on varied subjects. 1,026 reported judgments and 2,482 non-reported judgments are to his credit. I would say in every subject, one can find judgment of Honorable Justice Pardiwala, whether it is a civil or criminal or tax matter. In the field of taxation, he is referred to as an authority as his judgments on several issues of GST are cited across the country. To quote a few notable judgments from among several judgments rendered are: in Special Criminal Application 3734 of 2015, it was held institutional integrity of the institution of the public prosecutor should be kept in mind while recommending the name of the candidate. Appointment to the post of public prosecutor must satisfy not only the eligibility criteria of the candidate, but also the decision-making process of the recommendations. In writ petition, Public Interest PAL number 42 of 2020, Honorable Justice Pardiwala observed, I quote, "We sound a note of caution. The Superintendent of Civil Hospital and other authorities of the Health Department of Gujarat shall keep themselves ready to find our presence one fine morning on a given day in the civil hospital. This would put an end to all the controversies with regard to the functioning of the civil hospital at Ahmedabad. This shows the concern of His Lordship towards the society. In the matter of pollution of Sabarmati River, it came to be held, I quote, state and citizens are duty bound to preserve environment and balance interests, unquote. In the matter of Rakesh Bhai Mangan Bhai Barot versus State of Gujarat, reported in 2019, Volume 4, GLR 2719, it came to be held that the accused was entitled to lead his evidence by way of an affidavit in terms of Section 145 of the Negotiable Instruments Act. In the matter of Natwarlal Amarshi Bhai Devani versus State of Gujarat, reported in 2017 Criminal Law Journal, page 1911, it came to be held that the accused cannot be subjected to voice spectrography test. In a recent judgment delivered on 5th April 2022, in Special Civil Application number 4800 of 2021, it came to be held that interest awarded by Motor Accident Claims Tribunal on the award amount is not taxable under the Income Tax Act, or it would not be exigible to tax. During the COVID-19 lockdown period in May 2020, Honorable Justice Pardiwala led a division bench of the High Court of Gujarat, presiding over a matter pertaining to handling of COVID in Gujarat. The bench made several strong and bold interventions to ensure the rights of the people, especially the most vulnerable section like migrant workers, are not neglected by the authorities. Apart from what was narrated, Honorable Justice Pardiwala has made a mark by his erudite judgments touching all subjects like health, environment, town planning, Urban Development Act, Gujarat Cooperative Societies Act, SARFAESI Act, and on varied subject. His Lordship has rendered a plethora of judgments. On elevation to the Supreme Court of India, Honorable Justice Pardiwala was sworn in as a judge on 9th May 2022. On a personal note, I may state that Honorable Justice Pardiwala was a source of strength to me in discharging my administrative duties. At all times, whether it is early morning or late night phone calls, His Lordship used to render valuable suggestions for efficient and smooth functioning of the High Court as well as district judiciary. He was in most of the committees and used to come out with innovative ideas and always had a solution-oriented approach. Some of the best qualities of a good judge are good judicial temperament, not biased, correctly applying law based on the stated facts, and also to understand that how the decision will affect the daily lives of human beings. Other qualities are ability to communicate, open-mindedness, courage, tact, courtesy, patience, understanding, punctuality, firmness, humility, common sense, and compassion. All these qualities are reflected and demonstrated consistently in every judgment delivered by Honorable Justice Pardiwala. From day one, I found all these qualities in His Lordship. His Lordship truly maintains the set of standards and rules that maintains his dignity and impartiality. I am certain that Honorable Justice Pardiwala has created a better image of the judiciary. Coming to the person, Honorable Justice Pardiwala is so down to earth, always polite, ready and willing to help. He is sympathetic to the needy and deserving. I was informed that Honorable Justice Pardiwala used to distribute food to street children regularly during COVID period. His Lordship supplied food to many ailing persons and persons on the footpath. His Lordship also donated funds to NGOs who are supplying food to the needy during COVID period. This was being done without any publicity, and this fact acts as a mirror to his large-heartedness and compassion to the needy. Parting is always painful, but it is inevitable in one's official career. We are all happy to take pride that one of us, Honorable Mr. Justice J.B. Pardiwala, is adorning the bench of Supreme Court of India with a long tenure. I take this opportunity to congratulate Honorable Mr. Justice Pardiwala and bid him a warm and affectionate farewell on my behalf and on behalf of all my brother and sister judges, so also the state judiciary. On this occasion, I wish him all the best in the new assignment, and I also wish him, all his family members, good health and happiness.
My lords, Mrs. Jasmine Pardiwala, respected members of the legal fraternity, learned Registrar General, and the members of the High Court Registry. On behalf of the bar, the legal profession in the state, and on my own behalf, while heartily congratulating Honorable Mr. Justice J.B. Pardiwala, I associate myself with the profound feelings of commendation and affection expressed by Honorable the Chief Justice, respected Sri Arvind Kumar, on this occasion. Legendary Rabindranath Tagore, while immortalizing Prophet Zoroaster, had said, I quote, Zoroaster is the greatest of all the pioneer prophets who showed to mankind the path of freedom, the freedom of moral choice, the freedom from the blind obedience to unmeaning injunctions, the freedom from the multiplicity of shrines. And every Zoroastrian following the prophet is always a pure and transparent human being. Today, we have gathered over here to facilitate one such Zoroastrian, Honorable Mr. Justice J.B. Pardiwala, fondly called Sri Jamshed Bhai. As was referred to by my lord, a fourth-generation lawyer in the family, and after having been elevated on 17th February 2011 as a judge of the High Court of Gujarat, Justice Pardiwala has now become the sixth Parsi judge to adorn the seat of the Apex Court, following Justices D.P. Madan, S.P. Barucha, S.H. Kapadia, S.N. Variava, and Justice Rohinton Nariman. It is indeed a matter of great delight and gratification for all of us that one of our distinguished judges has been elevated to the highest court of the country, and therefore, this is the opportune time to warmly reflect on the journey so far undertaken by Sri Jamshed Bhai. As was referred to, Jamshed Bhai's great-grandfather, Navrojji Bhikaji Pardiwala, was a lawyer who had started practice in the year 1894 in Valsad. Grandfather Kawasji Navrojji Pardiwala joined the bar at Valsad in 1929, whereas Sri Jamshed Bhai's father, Barjor Kawasji Pardiwala, joined the bar at Valsad in the year 1955, and who was also the Speaker of 7th Gujarat Legislative Assembly for the period commencing from December 1989 to March 1990. Sri Jamshed Bhai's mother, Freniwen, comes from a loyal family, who is 84 years old and presently staying in Valsad, where Sri Jamshed Bhai had spent his childhood while pursuing his schooling from St. Joseph Convent High School. After completing his graduation in arts from Jarbanu Firoz Shah Shroff Arts College and law from Khimchand Mulji Law College at Valsad, Sri Jamshed Bhai started his legal practice in the year 1989 by joining the office of his father. After having practiced for about 1 year, he was not satisfied, which was realized by his beloved father, who advised him to start practicing in the High Court of Gujarat at Ahmedabad. That was how, in the year 1990, Sri Jamshed Bhai came to Ahmedabad and went to the office of senior advocate late Sri K.J. Shetna, a doyen of the bar, as per the guidance of his father. During the course of first visit itself, Sri Shetna Sahib was so perceptive that he could see the latent qualities in Sri Jamshed Bhai and advised him to shift to Ahmedabad, and assured that he should not worry about anything. What was most astonishing development thereafter was the fact that Sri Shetna Sahib addressed a letter dated 18 July 1990, strongly recommending Shri Jamshed Bhai, if I were to quote his words, to shift to Ahmedabad from Valsad while assuring that his basic necessities would be taken care of and expressing that he sincerely believes that Shri Jamshed Bhai possesses the potential of becoming a successful lawyer and thereafter an eminent judge of this honorable court, which will bring tremendous pride to the entire Parsi community. End quote. Shri Shetna Sahib's perception in the year 1990 is worthy of commendation in view of the present reality being in front of her eyes. Jamshed Bhai always recounts that he owes his existence in Ahmedabad to Shetna Sahib, but for whom destiny would not have brought him to Ahmedabad. Notably, Jamshed Bhai had not to look back thereafter. In 1994, he was elected as a member of the Bar Council of Gujarat. The year 2002 saw his appointment as a standing counsel for the High Court of Gujarat and the subordinate courts. All throughout his career as a lawyer, Shri Jamshed Bhai was known for his court mannerism, which was one of his outstanding qualities. He was respectful to one and all. And while being very courteous in the court proceedings, he had proved to be a very versatile and a formidable lawyer. Apart from law, Shri Jamshed Bhai is fond of playing tennis, reading, and music, more particularly listening to old Hindi songs. In spite of having roaring practice at bar, Shri Jamshed Bhai respected the call of duty at once by accepting the judgeship of the High Court in the year 2011. In a tenure of about 11 years as a judge of this High Court, his lordship has won the hearts of each and every person who has directly or indirectly come in contact with him. During this period, there is no sphere of law which his lordship has not treaded, and howsoever complicated the law involved may be, Justice Pardiwala has always come out with landmark decisions. Volumes of Gujarat Law Herald, Gujarat Law Reporter, All India Reporter are replete with important decisions handed down by his lordship practically in every field of law, like constitutional law, criminal law, civil law, as well as laws related to environment, taxation, labor, and service. At this stage, a brief reference to some of the landmark judgments delivered by Honorable Mr. Justice J.B. Pardiwala would be apposite. In a case of Rajendra and Shah versus Union of India, reported in 2013, Volume 2, GLR 1698, while entertaining public interest litigation, the provisions of 97th Constitution Amendment Act 2011, inserting Part 11B, containing Articles 243ZH to 243ZT, and granting constitutional status and protection to cooperative societies, came to be held as ultra vires for not taking recourse to Article 368(2) of the Constitution, providing for ratification by majority of the state legislatures. It is pertinent to note that recently Apex Court has also confirmed the state view of this honorable court. In case of Lakshman Rupchand, Meghwani versus State of Gujarat, decided on 31st October 2015, Shri Jamshed Bhai, while cautioning the appointment of a government pleader cum public prosecutor, laid down detailed criteria for effecting such appointment by inter alia holding that allotment of marks alone can never be construed as an expression of opinion as regards fitness and suitability. And the district magistrate as well as district and sessions judge, while suggesting a panel must express their respective opinions in writing, clearly reflecting as to what was considered and how. Later on, the state judgment of his lordship came to be confirmed by the Apex Court. In case of Bikhalal Kalyanji Jethwa versus Central Bureau of Investigation, reported in 2017 SCC Online Gujarat 716, his lordship ordered a retrial even before the trial court pronounced his verdict in a murder case of RTI activist Amit Jethwa, while setting aside the ongoing trial in the CBI court, calling it a miscarriage of justice, which was also confirmed by the Apex Court. In case of Kalupur Commercial Cooperative Bank Limited versus State of Gujarat, reported in 2019 SCC Online, Gujarat 1892, his lordship, while considering the interplay between SARFAESI Act on one hand and Gujarat Value Added Tax Act on the other, put the controversy at rest by categorically holding that the first priority over the secured assets shall be of the banks by virtue of Section 26E of the SARFAESI Act and not of the state government. In case of Tamanna Ben Ashok Bhai Desai versus Sheetal Amrutlal Nishar, reported in 2020 SCC Online Gujarat 2592, his lordship, while cautioning a government notification dated 1st August 2018, considered the reservation policy and laid down extensive stepwise guidelines to be followed by the state government for implementing the reservation policy, while inter alia holding that meritorious reserved candidates should always be considered in open general category and not in their respective reserved categories for implementing horizontal reservation. This judgment was eventually lauded and accepted by the apex court in case of Saurav Yadav as well, very recently. In suo motu proceedings in the matter of COVID pandemic in the year 2020, His Lordship, while heading the division bench, passed several orders for several causes, such as for improving the conditions and infrastructure of the hospitals, for the protection of interests of the migrant workers, for involving medical students in the crusade against the disease, and for the betterment of the conditions of the health workers. In case of Munjal Manishbhai Bhatt versus Union of India, decided on 6 May 2022, while testing the constitutional validity of a notification wherein SSE was liable to pay tax under the GST Act on the entire consideration payable for land as well as construction of a bungalow, after deducting 1/3 of the value towards the land, His Lordship saved the validity of the said notification by reading it down to the effect that the deeming fiction of 1/3 of the value of land will not be mandatory in nature, and the same will only be available at the option of the taxable person in cases where the actual value of land and undivided share in land is not ascertainable. Justice Cardozo once said, I quote, "The work of a judge is in one sense enduring, and in another sense ephemeral. What is good in him, it endures. What is erroneous is pretty sure to perish. The good remains the foundation on which new structures will be built." Unquote. I am sure that various good things done during the tenure of His Lordship will speak for themselves for years to come. A judge par excellence, an expounder of real and practical justice, His Lordship has demonstrated sincere and remarkable exposition towards judicial work, observance of utmost dignity and decorum in judicial conduct, very calm and modest way of dealing with the members of the bar, and grant of patient hearing to one and all, especially the junior members of the bar, and that too with a smiling face all throughout during the span of over a decade as a judge of a high court. His Lordship's unassuming and self-made personality has been imprinted in the minds of the bar and the litigants alike. The legal fraternity sees in Jamshed Bhai a man with a rare combination of erudition, compassion, and hard work, coupled with meticulous approach to the pros and cons of the intricacies of legal issues. Once asked to describe the qualities of an ideal judge, and Lord Denning said like this, I quote, "Simple and upright, calm and quiet, with all humility and utmost honesty, great listening, enthusiastic, but not suffering from judgitis, relentlessly decisive and socially sensitive. Above all, should be noble, and who can be anyone's role model." Unquote. It is needless to say that this quote aptly depicts the qualities present in His Lordship. A true Sai Bhakt, Sri Jamshed Bhai is a great believer in destiny and the blessings of God Almighty. According to him, chance, coincidence, and destiny are not merely abstractions, but chief architects of life. And it is destined that one must play one's own life in little instrument in the orchestra of life. When, where, and how? These are the questions that are inevitably answered in the passage of life. To conclude, I pray Almighty to bestow His Lordship with strength and zeal to carry out a great assignment His Lordship is going to undertake, and wish His Lordship every success in discharging the responsibility to illumine justice and humanize law. With a quote of 26 shloka of chapter 10 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, I quote, "Ashwattaha sarva bhukshanam devarshinam cha naradaha gandharvanam chitraratha siddhanam kapilo muni." And quote, meaning thereby, as of all the trees, people is the most sacred. Among the Devarshish, Narad is the greatest. Among the Gandharvas, Chitrarath is the greatest. And of all Siddhas, Muni Kapil is the greatest. And so be His Lordship among judges. Thank you very much.
A very good afternoon to all. Honorable Mr. Justice J.B. Pardiwala, Judge, Supreme Court of India, Honorable the Chief Justice, Mr. Justice Arvind Kumar, Honorable Judges of the High Court of Gujarat, Shri Kamal Trivedi, Learned Advocate General, Shri Devang Vyas, Learned Additional Solicitor General, Srimati Manisha Ben Love Kumar Shah, Learned Government Pleader, Shri Mitesh Ami, Learned Public Prosecutor, Shri Karan Singh Waghela, Vice Chairman, Bar Council of Gujarat, family members of Honorable Mr. Justice J.B. Pardiwala, learned senior advocates, and my esteemed colleagues at the bar. Today we have gathered here to bid an affectionate farewell to Honorable Mr. Justice Jamshed Bajorji Pardiwala on his elevation as a judge of the Supreme Court of India. It is a matter of great pride and honor for me to stand here today and address the bar on this great occasion. I feel really blessed for this opportunity given to me by the Almighty to speak on behalf of the bar about a person whom I have looked upon since my initial days of practice, and who is considered as one of the finest judges by all the members of the bar. Justice Pardiwala, as we all know, belonged to our bar. Before his elevation as a High Court judge, he practiced in this court for more than 2 decades. My memory takes me back to 2007, when I first briefed him as a junior counsel in a criminal quashing matter, wherein I got my first lessons in criminal law from him. He not only guided me, but also taught me nuances of arguing matters in court, and most importantly, how to pitch a particular point so as to convince the judge. Justice Pardiwala had a thumping practice when he was at the bar, and he practically practiced in all branches of law. Justice Pardiwala is considered to be the favorite judge of many juniors. In his last 11 years, he never ever got angry on any of the bar member. And at times when he was unhappy with things, he would simply express his anguish and get over with it within seconds. Justice Pardiwala had a great command over language and has given a human touch to all his judgments. When it came to divorce cases that involved children or reunion of couples who have children, he would always call them in the chamber and plead with them to not let their children suffer. He would get emotional and tell the husband and wife that how the kids are getting affected because of the parents. We all remember the famous incident when he broke a pencil to demonstrate to the couple how relations once broken can never be fixed again. He took that personal interest to deliver justice, and not just justice in the eyes of law, but to do justice to both the human as to individuals. Justice Pardiwala has also spoken against marital rape. He observed that dehumanized treatment of women will not be tolerated, and the marital rape is not a husband's privilege, but rather a violent act and an injustice that must be criminalized. Whenever Justice Pardiwala is pronouncing a judgment, he has an empathetic view, logical angle, and he gives regard to all the facts involved in the case. Justice Pardiwala was appreciated for his observations, questioning well-established orthodoxies from the Bal Diksha among Jains to polygamy amongst Muslims. He had called polygamy among Muslims a heinously patriarchal act. On Muslim personal law, allowing girls over the age of 15 years or those who had attained puberty to marry, Justice Pardiwala had said, "Those who have not allowed to change the Muslim personal law have done a great disservice to the community." He also spoke about the Uniform Civil Code in his orders. During the pandemic, he was a part of the bench that passed several orders directing the state government, central government, and private hospitals regarding their management of COVID-19 situation in the state of Gujarat. In another order, the bench called the COVID-19 outbreak a critical war-like situation, warning private hospitals to either regulate their exorbitant fee or face cancellation of their licenses. Besides these judgments, the members of the bar also appreciated his interactions with the litigants in court. When he is pronouncing a judgment in which, say, the people are really poor or they don't understand English, he goes an extra mile to explain the judgment in court in Gujarati to let them know the repercussions of the order. Justice Pardiwala initiated cleaning of Sabarmati River by taking up a suo motu PIL on basis of a newspaper article and passed necessary orders for the untreated domestic sewage and industrial waste which was being dumped into the Sabarmati River. Justice Pardiwala was part of the bench which struck down the 97 constitutional amendment, and the said judgment was later upheld by the Honorable Apex Court. Sir, your judgment on ad hoc lecturers in government colleges, wherein you granted them payment of basic pay scale instead of fixed pay, was not only confirmed by the division bench of this Honorable Court, but also the Honorable Apex Court. On a personal note, 3 of his juniors went on to be judicial magistrates, and 1 junior as a district judge who is currently serving as the registrar of this Honorable Court. Justice Pardiwala is a very religious and God-loving man. He believes a lot in destiny. He regularly visits Lord Hanuman and Sai Baba temples in Ahmedabad. He was a sponsor and used to visit occasionally the Mother Teresa Foundation for orphan kids. Justice Pardiwala used to drive in a red Honda City, in which he had a carton full of Parle-G biscuits. Whenever he saw families sitting on footpaths or children begging, he used to stop and give them open packets of the Parle-G biscuit just to make sure that they consume it themselves and don't sell it anywhere else. During winters, he used to observe while driving if any family on road were without kumbles or warm clothes. He used to reach office and instruct his staff to go and provide it to those persons. Such is the human feelings of Justice Pardiwala. What I gathered from his close friends is that he is a big fan and lover of papad. I also recollect having discussed with him Parsi cuisine and especially talked about dhansak. A thorough Parsi gentleman whom we will find always well dressed and up to the mark in any function of the High Court. His speeches and his judgments reflect the human touch he has in him. These qualities of Justice Pardiwala have been not only a motivational factor to me, but to many juniors like me who have come in contact with him. Justice Pardiwala took oath as a Supreme Court judge on 9th of May 2022. As Gujaratis, it is a matter of great pride for all of us that after nearly 3 decades, we will have a Gujarati heading the highest constitutional court of the country. Sir, we wish you all that you may desire in life. We wish you happiness, good health, and we wish you all that God can gift you. At this point, I also wish to congratulate the family members of Justice Pardiwala, namely Mrs. Jasmine Pardiwala and his 2 daughters, Tanya and Sia. Mrs. Jasmine Pardiwala has been a constant source of strength and support to Justice Pardiwala in his journey of life. We thank you, ma'am, for taking good care of him, and as a result of which, Justice Pardiwala has taken really good care of all of us at the bar, as well as the litigants of the state of Gujarat. Sir, one thing I can surely say today is that in these last 11 years, what you have done to all of us, especially the junior lawyers, it shall remain in our hearts for all our lives. We shall not forget it ever. The Bar Association and lawyers shall always be grateful to you, sir. You have inspired a generation of lawyers, and with your judgments, court conducts, and guidance to juniors, at the end, I only say that the loss of Gujarat is going to be a huge gain of the country, and you will be truly missed, sir. On behalf of the Gujarat High Court Advocate Association, and so also on my behalf, I wish you all the very best in your new assignment and pray to God to give you strength and wisdom to perform your duties to the best of your ability. Thank you very much.
All the speakers have made my heart very heavy. And the heart gets heavy when it gets full, the tongue gets tied. This is a moment of truth. And the truth is that my tongue is tied because my heart is. Honorable Chief Justice, Shri Arvind Kumar Ji, Honorable Sister and Brother Judges of the High Court, Honorable former judges of this High Court, Mr. Kamal Trivedi, the Learned Advocate General, Ms. Manisha Lavkumar Shah, the Learned Government Leader, Mr. Mitesh Amin, the learned public prosecutor, Mr. Prithviraj Jadeja, Vice President of the Bar Association, Mr. Vaghela, Chairman Bar Council of Gujarat, learned senior and junior members of the Bar, Registrar General and other members of the Registry, my beloved wife Jasmine and dear daughters Tanya and Sia, ladies and gentlemen, I am addressing you all for one last time. Abraham Lincoln once said that the best thing about the future was that it came one day at a time. That day arrived, and I had to say adieu to this noble institution. 6th of May 2022 was the last working day preceding the summer vacation. On 9th of May 2022, I took oath as the judge of the Supreme Court of India. I hardly had any time to bid goodbye to you all. It was my earnest wish and desire that before I leave this noble institution, I must address the members of the bar for one last time. Honorable Chief Justice Shri Arvind Kumar Ji has made my wish come true. It was the idea of Honorable Chief Justice to organize this full court farewell in my honor, and His Lordship requested me to join the event online. Perhaps the first of its kind in the annals of the history of this institution. I must first express my gratitude towards Honorable Chief Justice and also to my sister and brother judges of the High Court for this kind gesture shown towards me. I am beholden to you all. You have done me a great honor by inviting me to join this event virtually. I feel overwhelmed by your kind words and sentiments, which have all the warmth behind them, and I am unable to find words to thank you all adequately for the same. I know what you said about me is more out of affection and goodwill towards me, rather than an objective estimate of my merit. I am a humble person, conscious of his shortcomings and limitations. But I may tell you that I shall feel that my services have been amply rewarded if I have been able to carve out a place in your hearts as a judge who was keen to do justice to the best of his ability. It is said that a man is known by the company he keeps. A nation is known by the judiciary it has. The worth of a nation is measured by its judiciary, which is seen as the ultimate keeper of a nation's conscience. Ours is such a judiciary which ensures to the people of this nation that the freedoms which are theirs under the Constitution will never be taken away, and that history shall not repeat itself. Although it can be said that the source of judicial power is the law, yet in reality, the effective exercise of the judicial power originates from two sources. Externally, the source is the public acceptance of the authority of judiciary, and internally, and more importantly, the source is the integrity of the judiciary. The very existence of the justice delivery system depends on the just judges. who constitute the system. It is said that the life of law is justice, and it is for the judge to breathe life into justice. But mere laws are not enough. Men of character, inspired by high ideals, are needed to infuse life and spirit in the skeleton of law. Administration of justice is one of the most essential functions of the state. Many years ago, Harold Lasky, an English political theorist and economist, in his tribute to Justice Holmes, described the hallmarks of a great judge. The list is long, but what I like the most, what Lasky said is, a great judge, he said, must be a great man. He must be a statesman as well as a jurist, thinker as well as a lawyer. What he is doing is to shape the categories through which life must flow, and he must have a constant sense of greatness of his task. He must know the hearts of man and yet ask to be judged from the conscience of their minds. He must have a constant sense of essential power and yet be capable of humility in its exercise. He must be the servant of justice and not its master, the conscience of the community and not of its dominant interests. I believe there are two basic roles of a judge in a democracy, and that too in a very vibrant democracy like India. First, to uphold the constitution and the rule of law, and secondly, to bridge the gap between the law and the society. The contribution of the bar towards upholding the rule of law can never be underrated. If there are three prime requisites for the rule of law, they are a strong bar, an independent judiciary, and an enlightened public opinion. There can indeed be no greater indication of the decay in the rule of law than a docile bar, a subservient judiciary, and a society with a choked or coerced conscience. Administration of justice is a very solemn duty, and it demands wholehearted devotion. I believe that God alone is the true fountain of justice, and the judges are called upon to discharge the judicial function as his agents. We are accountable to God for all that we do in the discharge of this function, and therefore it is necessary for us to do our best according to the light and wisdom given to us by him. I have always felt that if we fail in doing justice to others, we shall not be entitled to claim justice for ourselves from God. The success of democracy in our country depends substantially, if not wholly, on the success of the rule of law. In a modern democratic state, the functions of the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary are well defined, and the spheres of their respective activities are well established. The progress and stability of a modern democratic state depends upon the vision, the wisdom, and the foresight of its legislature, the efficiency and incorruptibility of its executive, and the independence, impartiality, and integrity of its judiciary. Ladies and gentlemen, we often talk of an independent judiciary. What do we mean by an independent judiciary? For a judiciary to be independent, it has to be a performing judiciary. A non-performing judiciary cannot be said to be an independent judiciary. When I say performing judiciary, it means that every judge is free to decide matters before him in accordance with his assessment of the facts and his understanding of the law without any improper influences, inducements, or pressures, direct or indirect, from any quarter or for whatever reasons. I would remind you that as lawyers, y'all don't have merely a professional responsibility, but y'all have a very definite social and ethical duty towards the society and to the individual. Just as a doctor has the sacred duty to preserve and prolong life, so has the lawyer the sacred duty to protect the physical, moral, and intellectual integrity of the individual. The protection of the individual from either the state or other individuals must be reconciled with the essential requirement of modern society. However, it is a lawyer's duty to ensure that this process of reconciliation never involves a derogation There appears to be some the entire speech has gone. Sorry for the inconvenience caused. Some technical error had cropped up. May I proceed now? What I was trying to convey was that as lawyers, y'all don't have merely a professional responsibility, but y'all have a very definite social and ethical duty towards the society and to the individual. Just as a doctor has the sacred duty to preserve and prolong life, so has the lawyer the sacred duty to protect. I am informed that some part of my address has not been audible to the august audience. May I just repeat what I wanted to convey? Bear with me for some more time. Ladies and gentlemen, what I was trying to convey is that the administration of justice is a very solemn duty and it demands wholehearted devotion. I believe that God alone is the true fountain of justice, and the judges are called upon to discharge the judicial function as his agents. We are accountable to God for all that we do in the discharge of this function. And therefore, it is necessary for us to do our best according to the light and wisdom given to us by him. I have always felt that if we fail in doing justice to others, we shall not be entitled to claim justice for ourselves from God. The success of our democracy in our country depends substantially, if not wholly, on the success of the rule of law. In a modern democratic state, the functions of the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary are well defined, and the spheres of their respective activities are well established. The progress and stability of a modern democratic state depends upon the vision, the wisdom, and the foresight of its legislature, the efficiency and incorruptibility of its executive, and the independence impartiality and integrity of its judiciary. We often talk about independent judiciary. What do we mean by an independent judiciary? For a judiciary to be independent, it has to be a performing judiciary. A non-performing judiciary cannot be said to be an independent judiciary. When I say performing judiciary, it means that every judge is free to decide matters before him in accordance with his assessment of the facts and his understanding of the law without any improper influences, inducements, or pressures, direct or indirect, from any quarter or for whatever reasons. I would remind you that as lawyers, y'all don't have merely a professional responsibility, but y'all have a very definite social and ethical duty towards the society and to the individual. Just as a doctor has the sacred duty to preserve and prolong life, so has the lawyer the sacred duty to protect the physical, moral, and intellectual integrity of the individual. The protection of the individual from either the state or other individuals must be reconciled with the essential requirement of modern society. However, it is a lawyer's duty to ensure that this process of reconciliation never involves a derogation from the fundamental personal rights of the individual. Lawyers must be and remain crusaders in the field of the rule of law and human rights. That's my appeal to all of you. Leaders succeed in part because of their skills and capabilities. But what counts more is the faith people bestow in you. 11.5 years at the High Court, I was driven by my need to make the state of Gujarat a better place for its citizens. And this need was fueled every day by the undying faith you, the community of people, had in me. It is often asked, does society really need another lawyer? India has roughly about 1.8 million lawyers. This means there is one lawyer for every 736 persons, and yet there are thousands of people who remain unrepresented. So yes, we do need lawyers. We need bold and confident lawyers because access to justice is a basic human right. Law is a service business with strong emphasis on providing service. I strongly believe it is your ethical responsibility to provide your services in the public interest, in furtherance of a safe, fair, and just society. To those who are here and not a part of the legal fraternity, you also have a responsibility to be a dutiful member of the society. As a society, we must keep striving to make our world a better place for the future generations to come. The courts and lawmakers cannot do this alone. Each of you must rise to the cause and do your little part in making this society you live in more inclusive, fair, and just. Friends, do not fear the change that comes with time. Embrace it. This constant change is the hallmark of a successful society. Remember one thing, that change is the only constant. To the younger generation hearing me, you are creatively patriotic. Believe in yourself and attach yourself to a cause greater than yourself. One of my great pleasures on the bench has been to witness how the junior members of our bar, who I had known in their professional infancy, have grown up to become formidable advocates. It makes me happiest to see the zealous spirit of this newer generation of lawyers. You, my friends, are the hope and future of this nation. It lies in your young and fierce hands to uphold the integrity of this judiciary and make this nation a better place for your children. Ability in you may take you to the top, but remember, character will keep you at the top. Character is not all about honesty and sincerity. It is about doing the right thing when you are tempted to do the wrong. Roscoe Pound, a distinguished former dean of Harvard Law School, so eloquently captured this. He says, I quote, "It's worth sharing with you all. Lawyers should be willing to say to clients, yes, the law lets you do that, but don't do it. It's a rotten thing to do," I unquote. He goes on to say, I quote, "Our role as lawyers transcends the technical. It requires us to consider the public's welfare in addition to the interest of a private client. That is how it should be," I unquote. Perhaps if as a community, all lawyers were better at fulfilling this aspect of our public service obligation, y'all could elevate your collective reputation and finally make the list of most admired professions, a list where teachers and members of our military always rightfully stand. But this was not always the case. Today, law might have the reputation of being a money-making business, but there was a time when its true essence was that of a service business. The important duty of the profession is to act as the interpreter, guide, and faithful servant of the community. Man may be a little lower than the angels. He has not yet shed off the brute, and the brute within it is apt to break loose on occasions. To curb and control that brute, we need the rule of law. We also need the rule of law for the settlement of disputes, which are bound to arise in the affairs of man. And in ensuring the rule of law, the most significant part is perhaps played by the lawyers. Lawyers played a central role in the functioning of our nation and enshrining the values that guide our country today. It was only due to the selfless guidance and statesmanship of the legal profession, the Indian national movement gained participation and its impact reached far beyond immediate political consequences. I strongly believe in the words of Barack Obama, who said, I quote, "Change only happens when ordinary people get involved and they get engaged and they come together to demand it," I unquote. For over 11 years of judgeship, I have drawn from your energy as a community who has demanded change. Over the years, I delivered plethora of judgments. The words were mine, but the feeling of accomplishment was shared by us all. A strong bar is essential if the judiciary is to function properly. Because unless the bar is strong, the grievances of the people will not be properly and effectively ventilated. By a strong bar, I do not mean a discourteous or disrespectful bar. A lawyer can be courteous and respectful and yet bold and vehement in his arguments. By a strong bar, I mean a bar which does its duty effectively of ventilating the grievances of the people. The soul of India is its constitution. Our republic, the foresight of dynamic visionaries. What a great edifice they built, ensuring sovereignty with democratic values. The Constitution is our bedrock, ensuring our safety and security. It outlines the process that keeps us rooted in values. We read it for reference and for every policy decision. Without it, we would be lost and make many mistakes. It is now 75, but we still keep turning it. Why? Because it guarantees our rights and set benchmarks for our responsibilities. The laws and rules that uplift all people sprout from its pristine womb. Welfare of all is its primary concern, but it is for the legal fraternity to protect its sanctity and safety. Ladies and gentlemen, I have enjoyed the privilege of working with eminent Chief Justices who have been very kind and considerate to me. I consider myself fortunate to have worked under the leadership of Honorable Chief Justice Shri Arvind Kumar ji. The Chief Justice of the High Court is a man with a vision. Since the day he took over as the Chief Justice of this High Court, he has strived in his own way very hard to do his best for the better administration of justice. Real leadership is not about prestige, power, or status. It's about responsibility. I humbly urge to all the members of the bar to extend your full cooperation to Honorable Chief Justice. I had also the privilege of working with other eminent judges of this court who were equally good to me. Above all, I have enjoyed your cooperation and goodwill, which I immensely value. On this occasion, I owe a duty to express my gratitude towards few who are very close to my heart, and perhaps without their support, the journey so far would have been very difficult. First, I am thankful to my family, but for the support, cooperation, guidance, patience, trust, and confidence in me of my beloved wife Jasmine and my two daughters, dear daughters Tanya and Sia. Life as a judge would have been very hard. I owe every bit of my success to my entire family. On this occasion, I remember and pay my respects to the departed soul of my father, late Shri Barjorji Pardiwala. I seek blessings of my mother and all my dear ones. Many, many thanks and respects to Honorable Justice Bhaskar Bhattacharya, the former Chief Justice of this High Court, with whom I had the honor and privilege to work continuously for a period of 3 years, that is from 2011 to 14. Those 3 years of my tenure as a judge of this High Court will always remain a golden period of my life. Working with Honorable Justice Bhattacharya was altogether a different experience for me. I not only learned what is law and administration of justice all about, but his lordship also inculcated in me the fine values of human life and the qualities which a judge is expected to possess. Grateful to you, my Lord Justice Bhaskar Bhattacharya. I also express my love, respect, and gratitude to the departed soul of my senior, my mentor, late Shri K.J. Shetna, a doyen of the bar. It was Shetna Sahib who motivated me to come to Ahmedabad and start my practice in this noble institution. My many, many respectful obeisance to late Shri Shetna Sahib on this occasion. I know it is not possible to see Shetna Sahib in flesh and blood, but I am sure he is present today in this majestic first court of this noble institution in some form or the other. I also express my gratitude to Shri Kishore Bhai Anandjiwala, one of the respected senior members of the bar, for his love, support and guidance all throughout my professional career. He finds a special place in my heart. Thank you very much, Kishore Bhai, for all that you have done for me. Let me also place on record my deep appreciation to my entire staff who worked with me relentlessly day and night. Naming all of them would make my speech lengthy, but from the bottom of my heart, let me place on record my deep appreciation for the services rendered by all of them. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for me to leave you all. I have looked upon this institution as a temple of justice. Judges will come and go, but this institution will go on forever. It is my earnest wish that a pure stream of justice may continue to flow from this institution for the benefit of the people of this state, and no one who approaches this court for seeking justice may go back frustrated with a feeling that justice was denied to him for extraneous considerations. I pray to God that this institution may grow in strength from day to day, and along with you, may all prosper. Always stand united. This last part of my address is very important. Listen to me. Always stand united when it comes to protecting the honor and dignity of the High Court as an institution. Never allow anybody to undermine the value of institution, the honor of institution. Never allow anybody to prohibit the institution. Whatever may be the personal differences amongst you all, such differences should be buried when it comes to standing tall to protect the honor and dignity of the institution. Brothers and sisters, give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give the world the best you have got anyway. You see, in the final analysis, it is between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. Thank you very much for one last time. Bless you all. Jai Hind.
We regret for the technical glitch. It is because of the speed of the internet which suddenly broke down. But by another 1 hour, without any glitch, the erudite speech of His Lordship Justice Pardiwala will be on the YouTube and live also.